This is what happens when it rains for 4 days and you haven't been out in the garden in 3. Almost 6-pound zucchini. That's okay though, because a 6-pound zucchini will equal several cups of zucchini flour for pizza dough. Good morning and welcome to the Dunton Homestead. I'm Kathy. Thank you for joining me today. It's not going to be a great day to get things done outside, so I'll be doing most of my work inside, prepping some food. It's been raining for several days now. The weeds continue to grow, the food grows, food splits. They cover up my blueberry plants because when I was coming back with a knife to cut my zucchinis, I noticed a bunch of cardinals flying out of there. Even the blueberries are splitting from so much water. That's okay. We'll get through this. It's not a big deal, and a lot of people really need the rain, so at least we're getting the rain. It just makes it hard to keep up with everything. I've pretty much called uncle on the whole weed situation. It is what it is. I made an order this morning to buy some ground cover for next year, or even for this fall's crop, from Grower Solution, and I think that will be a solution. This is what I got harvested this morning. Cucumbers are bigger than I want them to be. If they were all a little bit smaller, I'd probably make pickles. But they're a little bit bigger, so I gotta find something else to do with them. Got enough beans to top off what I've been picking for the past week, so I can do some canning today. And those are also zucchinis. I haven't washed anything off yet. It was playing in the mud out there. Got one nice cauliflower and some broccoli. Two tomatoes had started to ripen, and both of them got split because of the rain, which often happens when they start getting ripe and then you get a bunch of rain. But that is okay. I'm gonna have a tomato sandwich anyway. I'm gonna start off by soaking all of the produce that I picked this morning. I think I'm going to be giving away a lot of these cucumbers. Maybe look for a cucumber salad to do. This massive zucchini is getting cut up and put into the freeze dryer, and it should be done tomorrow. Last week I learned the hard way of why they say not to overload the trays. I had 2 trays full of comfrey leaves to make a salve, and I had the other 2 loaded with zucchini, like 3 layers on a tray, which was too much. So at the end of 30 hours, when it was telling me it was done and I pulled them out, they were still frozen. We can't preserve things that are frozen, not for long-term storage, because the moisture will cause it to go bad. So I had to run the cycle all over again. What I did is after I had taken the comfrey off, which was fine, and stored that, I just spread the rest of the zucchini out on the other 2 trays and ran it through another cycle, and it came out perfect. I cut the carrots up, and that will go in with the roasted chicken tonight. And beside that, you see what I have stored for zucchini powder, flour, already, and I'll plan on doing as much of that as possible. And if that means letting my zucchini get huge, that's what I'll do. I plan on bringing these beans down to when I have lunch with my dad today, and I'll just snap them and then rinse them, and then we'll get ready to can. The broccoli and cauliflower are all washed and put away and ready for another meal in the near future. I always try to bring something back pretty from the garden. Most time it's black-eyed Susans, because I don't have a whole lot of planted flowers at this point, but it's in the plan at some point. The blackberries that I picked today will be going into the freezer, probably to make blackberry jam, possibly for desserts, not sure yet. And the blueberries will definitely be dessert for tonight. But right now, I'm going to head down and have lunch with Dad, and then I will come back and we will start canning some green beans. Now I'm going to get some green beans canned. This is my first batch for doing this year. I started picking the end of last week. I brought a bunch over to my granddaughter's house this week and got them all snipped. So my jars are warm. Put some Redmond salt in there. Redmond's pink salt is my favorite salt. And you can use any salt as long as it's not iodized. And you actually don't even have to use salt. It's more of a taste thing. It's not a preservation thing. And I'm just gonna pop a couple peppercorns in each jar. And just start filling the jars. You can try to get as much in as I can to each jar. It's going to involve breaking some of them because some of them are very long, but fortunately not real thick. First year I did that I canned beans, I let them get too big and so they were stringy, like the part in the middle was like stringy, and I didn't love that. So just fill them till they're about, I don't know, 1.5 inches of the top. I do quart-sized containers for green beans because we can easily knock off a quart in a meal. It just feels like opening a lot of jars if I do pints. I warmed up my jars at 200 before stuffing them because when I add the hot boiling water to the jars, I didn't want there to be a shock to the glass and have them cracking. And 1 inch head space on all of them. I'm just going to take a chopstick and go around the sides of the jars to try to get any bubbles, air bubbles out, which will cause the water level to change. And then just need to see if you need to top off any more water into them. And the last thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of white vinegar with a paper towel and just go around the rims. This way I can also check to see if it feels a little jaggedy to make sure that the jars are smooth so it'll be a good seal. And cap them. Did rinse these off. It's no longer necessary to sanitize these to boil them, but it's a good idea to wash. I always think it's a good idea to wash them coming from a factory. And grab some rings. And putting the rings on, you just want to go finger tight. You don't want to really wrench on it. I might be washing that one. I always forget how many jars actually go into this canner, and I think it's different with small mouth versus wide mouth. So I have seven wide mouth in there. I have this is just not going to fit. And actually I think I'm just going to take this and throw this in with the roasted chicken that I still have to prepare tonight. And rather than doing another batch just for one. jar. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put the canner cover on. Now I'll be waiting for this to start steaming, and steaming to the point where this little gauge starts pushing up. At that point, I'll set the timer for 10 minutes, and when it's vented for 10 minutes with this gauge, thingy, doohickey, up, then I'll put the weight on and then wait for it to start wiggling, and then once it starts like consistently wiggling, probably turn the heat down a little bit and set the timer for 25 minutes. While I'm waiting on that to come up to temperature, I am going to get the chicken ready for dinner. So today we're using one of our larger birds. It was closer to 6 pounds. We averaged around 4 pounds for our chickens this year. This one was on the larger side. I pulled it out on Monday, I believe, and to thaw in the fridge in the garage. I'm going to be kind of seasoning the inside. I know there's another word for it, I just can't think of what it is. I'm going to take some freeze-dried celery that I have, stuff that inside. I am not going to put stuffing in it. I may make some stuffing and have it on the side, or I might make cornbread. I haven't quite decided yet. I've got some store-bought, the rest of the store-bought thyme I'm going to put in there as well. Some of my rosemary that I freeze-dried. And some freeze-dried onions. Lily's trying to help. This is one of the last garlic bulbs that I have from the store, bought previous from June, because I am trying to do that pantry challenge. I'm a little concerned about my garlic that I have on the rack because it's been raining non-stop and it's super humid out there. I don't think they're getting the drying time that they need. I'm worried about they're going to start molding, so I may, when I get them in the house, I may just immediately start running them through the freeze dryer, peeling them, and then peeling the cloves and putting them in the freeze dryer so that I can have them, because I have a feeling that as damp as it is out there right now, they're not going, no, you can't have that. They're not going to store well. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lemons in there as well. Got some, where did I do with it? Bacon fat. A little bit of bacon fat that I had saved. I'm going to kind of slather over the skin. Normally would use butter, but I'm trying not to buy things. I still have butter, and I was allowing myself to get dairy if needed, but I got the bacon fat, and butter will last a whole lot longer in the fridge than bacon fat will. I have store-bought poultry seasoning. My intention is to be clipping my herbs as much as possible and freeze drying, even if it's just a little bit at a time, and adding it to the jars, so I have my own culinary spices, and can make my own poultry season, taco season, pizza season, pasta season, tomato sauce seasoning, pasta sauce seasoning. So I have that at the ready. I don't know as though I have a big enough herb garden to be able to do all those big and lofty plans, but that's what I would like to do. So, but use what you have till you have something better. These are the carrots that I harvested this morning, so I'm just gonna kind of line the pan with them. I also have canned potatoes that I canned late last year. White potatoes, and I'm gonna add that to this pan as well, but not right now. They are partially cooked because they've been canned. So I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna put this in for an hour, and then I'm gonna put the potatoes in, and then probably the broccoli and cauliflower that I also harvested this morning. I'll add that for the rest of the cooking time, as well as the green beans that I have left. As you can see, we got a pretty good steam going, so I'm gonna go ahead and set the timer for 10 minutes and let that vent for 10. And then we'll come back and continue on. So we got a constant jiggle here, and I adjusted the heat just a little bit, and I set the timer for 25 minutes. Meanwhile, I almost forgot that I needed to do something with the blackberries that I picked this morning. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rinse them, dry them, and then lay them out on a cookie sheet so that they're not touching, and then stick them in the freezer. I rinse them and I'm laying them on a towel, and then I'm gonna block them with a paper towel. I have them on a single layer on the cookie sheet, and I will put them in the freezer, and tomorrow when I get home, I will add them to this bag that I started earlier this week of blackberries. And see, I can pull them out individually because they're already frozen when they went into the bag. If I just put these soft berries into a bag, they're gonna end up freezing in one big clump. And then they won't be as versatile for whatever I want to use them for, whether I want to measure out a couple of cups for a dessert or however I want to use them. More than likely, I'm going to be using them to make blackberry jelly or jam. But this way, I don't have this big, huge mass of stuck together fruit, making it harder to measure things out. Also picked this morning was blueberries and just a few strawberries. So between the slugs, and I chased out a few squirrels today out of my strawberry beds, I'm having problems getting strawberries. And then I also chased cardinals out of my blueberry bushes this morning. So I have been doing the same thing as I did with the blackberries, laying these out as I've been picking them. I've already made a big batch of strawberry jam. I have not made blueberry yet, but we have tons more blueberry if they don't all get stolen by the cardinals on there. So I can still make blueberry jam. But tonight I wanted to make a dessert. So I have, when I allowed myself to go shopping for dairy products and bread the end of last week, I bought some heavy whipping cream so that I could make a topping. And I might see if I can try and make like a sweet roll. I've never done that before. Usually I buy the dessert shells. Obviously I'm not going to do that because I'm doing the pantry challenge. So I'm going to see if I can whip some of that up for tonight for dessert. We don't usually do dessert, but I mean, hey, fresh blueberries. Gotta do dessert. Timer went off for the green beans, so I just shut the heat off, shut the timer off. Getting finished and making up some whipped cream to go with dessert tonight. Get that in the fridge. I wish I had a cow. I wish I had a cow. I always thought I'd want a horse before a cow. I think cows would be more useful. But I really want to learn how to ride a horse and not look stupid. I'm just getting ready to take the sweet rolls out of the oven. I just Googled wheat roll recipe and got one that sounded yummy. The batter tasted yummy. Presentation isn't everything. I mean, they're kind of flat, but I mean, they're gonna work. They're gonna taste good. That I know because I taste tested the dough. Now, the gauge has dropped. I can take this off, but I'm going to leave these be and let them continue to lose temperature and pressure. Sometimes when I do something that's really liquidy, like there's a lot of water in there, when I open up, it starts siphoning and it doesn't get a good seal. So I'm playing on the safe side. I'm just gonna leave this be probably for another hour and then I'll move them out. Going to go ahead, and because I put lemons and garlic and onions and celery inside the bird, I did not stuff the bird with stuffing, so I'm going to go ahead and make some stuffing. I had pulled ends bread that I had thrown into the freezer because it didn't taste fresh. It wasn't moldy or anything, but it wasn't fresh, something I'd want a sandwich for. So usually I throw them into the fridge and then I can make stuffing when I want to. I'm going to add some butter, probably a whole stick because I like it buttery. And put that in chunks. Rick got home and went out and started weeding the mess out there. And he was weeding around the onions, and inadvertently he picked up and he pulled an onion. So this is one of our onions. He peeled it because it obviously hasn't cured, so we were like, oh, we got to use it up pretty quick. Well, I'm going to use some of it tonight. Good size. It would be very cool if all my onions came out like this. Also, it would be very cool if this rain isn't destroying them. I should have probably harvested them last week. I didn't get to it, and then we just had the solid rain. So now I can't until the rain stops. So I'm just going to go ahead and maybe do probably half of it, and just dice up the onions. Throw them in there with the bread and the butter. I'm going to add some poultry seasoning. I'm also going to open up another jar of celery that I had freeze dried back in September of last year. Add that in. I wish I could grow celery. This was actually celery that I didn't know I was going to eat, so I just wanted to get it preserved so I could use it another time, like now. And then I'm going to add chicken broth, just to moisten it up. A little bit more poultry season. Now I'm going to throw it into a bacon greased Pampered Chef loaf pan. And have not shut the oven off from when I just pulled out the sweet rolls. I am going to chop it off a little bit more. Go ahead and put it in there at 350, like a half an hour or so. Lily, move, honey. The chicken's been in the oven for about an hour or so, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it out and add the potatoes and the beans to the pan. Woo! Hot one. Smells good. I'm gonna go ahead and drain the potatoes. These are the potatoes that I put away last July. These have been cooked because obviously they've been pressure canned, but they're not super soft. I can't remember what I added it to last week, but it worked out well. This is like the biggest cast iron pan I have. I'm not really sure how much room I have for beans, but I'm gonna try and stuff them in there. And these are, again, these are the ones that would not fit into the canner. I just dropped some on the floor and the dogs are enjoying them now. Beans are good for dogs. When I had a fat dog once, I had a vet tell me I needed to feed them green beans. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the oven for another half an hour or so, and then I'll do the thermometer, see how that's doing. Everything got done at the same time, and the guy I dropped my laptop off to this morning wanted to drop it off here. And so he came when everything was done. And then while I was busy, I let everybody know that dinner was done, and so naturally I don't have any pretty pictures of what came out of the oven. So I'll go ahead and show you what's there now. But I feel like I do this all the time. Like I'll step away, I'll let everybody know that dinner's done, I step away, I forget to take a picture, or I forget to record the finished product every time. So that's the finished product of the chicken, the stuffing. The green beans are all out, and dessert. It's the end of another long day. I spent most of it in the kitchen. I feel like I was trying to be Martha Stewart today. Funny story, while I was not in the kitchen, Rick saw my sweet rolls and thought it was cornbread and told the boys it was cornbread. And so they put gravy on it. And they said it was really good, a little sweet, but really good. So it is what it is. So I guess it's one of those versatile rolls. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Hit like and subscribe. Be a blessing and be blessed.